Welcome to the Keep It Up and Game On podcast. These are your co-hosts. I'm Sly. This is Top, and we're coming live to you here. And this is just a podcast of us, just for our love of video games, what we're playing, what's on the horizon, just what the general consensus is in the video game community, and we're just going to talk about it. So, let's see. What? So, Top, what would you say is some of your favorite games you're playing at the moment?
Favorite games I'm playing at the moment? I came a little bit prepared.
Oh. Well. Final Fantasy 2. Nice.
Yeah, Final Fantasy. Playing through that with my daughter right now. We're having a really good time. The story gets pretty deep. It gets pretty exciting. And honestly, as you know, I've been playing Helldivers 2 with you, of course.
Yes. Now,
that game,
I gotta say, this game completely came out of nowhere for me in terms of just the gameplay itself and just the feel of the game. Granted, I know I want to say this has been under development for 7 years or something like that, but you would never know.
It's been that long. When did the first Helldivers come out? Because I had never even heard of Helldivers.
Well, I want to say the first Helldivers came out on the PS4, and it was more of a sleeper title. Like it didn't really catch any mainstream. And on top of that, it was a top-down shooter. So instead of the second one where it's more of a third-person view, this one was kind of like the top-down. You remember like the old GTA or trying to think of another.
Oh yeah.
Game. Yeah. So it's just a top-down view, and the gameplay is completely changed, and just the shenanigans you can get into. So, basically, for those that don't know, the premise of the game is you are a squad of commandos. Think Starship Troopers. You get dropped into a planet. Your basic, mission strategies are to kill aliens, the bugs. On top of that, you might have other objectives. Escort survivors, launch rockets. It's just a lot and
you get to shoot up Terminators as well. So
the automatons. We honestly keep getting owned with those guys. What I like about it too is it's not the easiest game, believe it or not. There's a strong emphasis on the co-op type of aspect of it, and each person has a designated role. So if you're not calling out or you're throwing out so I didn't even hit you with the biggest part of it all is friendly fire is on all the time. And I think that's where a lot of the fun ensues, where, you could be throwing some type of grenade or whatever. And if you don't call it out, and then I blew up for no reason. It's just a lot of fun, I think.
Yeah. It's not even just a stream of fire, because when you think, friendly fire, I always think don't cross the streams. And like you said, a grenade, but even the way that you summon your allies back from revival, how they come down and
kind of reminds me
actually, I think I accidentally killed you, because even then, I don't know, we've just had
head on a swivel at all times.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it quite a bit, but yeah, it's really hard. But
so, another game I've been playing recently is Final Fantasy VII Remake, because Final Fantasy VII Rebirth comes out next week, 22nd, I think.
I think it's time to get my PS5 finally.
Yeah, so I've been playing through that again just to get a refresher on the story and just to make sure I didn't miss anything. And then that one DLC episodic type of thing where it was like the episode Yuffie with somebody else. I still have to play that as well. So just to get context if that has any importance to the story, or if it's just like a side story, or what the deal is.
Yeah. So I don't think we said this on the podcast yet, but the two of us we're besties.
Yes.
We're also brother-in-laws. So
yes.
I'm married to his sister, and her name's Jennifer. And Jennifer and we actually played through Final Fantasy VII Remake together, pretty much when it came out a couple years ago. and we had a really good time with it. Have you finished it yet? Like, is this an additional playthrough for
Yeah,
you?
this is an additional playthrough, just basically. So supposedly this is supposed to transition right into Rebirth. So the way this one ends is where the next one starts. I believe you basically leave the reactor and you're getting into the outside of the wall and you're supposed to go explore. So I just want to, basically just feel like it's kind of like a seamless transition. So that way, because essentially, if you really think about it, it boils down to it's one grandiose story. So this game has had a long development period. They even did that tech demo. I don't know if you remember, all the way back in E3 when the PS3 came out. They did that tech demo trailer where everyone's like, "Oh shoot, this game's coming out for the PS3," but then we had to wait a whole generation later just for the game to come out.
Literally.
So when they announced that it was going to be episodic, I didn't know what that was going to entail, but now that I know, so basically they broke the game into 3 different parts where each part, or each act, I should say, is its own full-fledged game. So
yeah, I'm embarrassed to say, I'm sure they said that before the game came out. I didn't realize that though, when we did it and when we were playing through. So I wasn't sure like exactly how far the story was going to go.
Do you remember how many discs the original FF7 was? Was it 3 or was it 4? I don't remember.
I think it was 4. You want to talk to the folks and I can go grab it?
Oh yeah. So while he's grabbing that, the cool thing with the next one, Rebirth, if you choose to purchase the physical copy, it actually comes with 2 discs. So for those of you that love physical releases, want to have something nice on your bookshelf, kind of like Top has over there, I'm pretty sure we'll do another video like showing off the game rooms and just like kind of like our setups and whatnot. But I want to say it should be 2 discs. One should be a data disc that you just put in there, it installs, and then one's the actual game disc, which is the key, essentially.
Well, it sort of sucks right now, but I can't find 7, but I found 8 right next to it. Okay. Obviously, where it should have been, and that's 4 disc.
Yeesh.
8 is 4 disc. I want to say 7 was 4 discs as well, 3 or 4. Man, I can't remember right now off the top of me. I thought it was right next to it too. I know I got it somewhere, but yeah. So are you playing any other games besides that? Anything maybe?
So funny enough, we've tried to get on this a couple times, and I can say wholeheartedly that I am addicted since the time I picked this up as Power World. So I've probably invested so many. I couldn't even tell you my actual play count because I just feel like I've been playing it nonstop. But
is she playing that with you guys too?
What's that?
Is she playing that with you too?
Not yet.
Okay.
Well, but just the game itself, I didn't realize how involved it was. Just in terms of like all your farming, having to craft resources and go find resources. So it's like a never-ending story. So let's just say you need a certain item. So you have to go out into the world and find those specific items to craft that item. But then that item that you crafted turns into another potential recipe item that you need in tandem with other items to craft something else. So it's just a never-ending revolving door of like constantly trying to find resources and craft items, and it's quite honestly addictive.
You've played it more than I have, but from what I gather from it, obviously it's got like that Pokemon flavor to it.
Yeah.
In combination with like a little Minecraft vibe. I've got thousands of hours on Minecraft, of course, and an Ark. So Ark, it's another one of those like survival games.
Oh, Ark. Okay, I thought.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, it's like one of those base building games, and
is it like with the dinosaurs and all that.
Yeah, I know you have to go back. I'm like 99% sure because my buddies at work play it, and I haven't, but I've seen a few videos. But they were talking to me about how they had to go back in and like log in at least every couple days and like repair the base or make sure it was in good shape. Does the same thing happen in Power World, or is it just
So
certain?
yes, so once you hit a certain level, you can have up to 3 bases. So what happens is what I try to do is I try to put my base in like the most you know inconvenient spot for it to get raided. So what happens is like there's different factions within the world, the PAL rescue, like think of it like PETA within the world of Power World. They want to free everybody. And then you have like the Syndicate, which are like Team Rocket, if you want to think of those guys like that. And you have
Or
random
like throwing
PALs,
paint on the Mona Lisa, right?
something like that. And then you actually have wild pals that are kind of like gangs, and like the dark types especially, like they kind of all bundle together, and they'll raid your base, just at random times, and they'll try to like just jack up all your stuff and try to steal like resources and just run away. And it's a kind of a pain in the butt too, because like if you're in the middle of crafting or doing whatever, it's literally all hands on deck. As soon as they invade, every single monster that you have in your base is like, oh, okay, like DEFCON 5, pop, 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 pop. We got to take this guy out. And then earlier on in the game when that happened to me, I was like, oh, shoot, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I got wiped out. I was like, all right, so you know what? That's a crap spot for a base. And that's another thing with this game too, is like you want to put your base where a lot of the resources are already at. So perfect example is sulfur and like iron ore, because you don't just find those anywhere, because with the production you can make wood and stone, but in terms of like other stuff, you kind of want to make sure it's already in the location where you set your base, so that way when you release your monsters, they're just already farming those items.
Okay, that makes sense. So I don't know that my personal dilemma, just between life and responsibilities, family,
Mm-hmm.
being an adult now, I miss those times of being able to just game for 12 hours straight and have no repercussions from that. But um, what do you think you and I should focus on going forward? Like, should I try to make some more time for Pal World, or should we just keep having fun in Helldivers 2 for now?
I personally think we should just keep going with Helldivers 2, because Sony. So okay, as you know, I love video games, but I feel like Sony is always going to be my first love, or like my true love in a way, because my first love is always going to be Nintendo. So let me just preface all this: I own all platforms, all consoles. So like I don't favor any one or the other. I just love video games themselves.
Likewise,
But
in terms of favoritism. Yeah.
but with that being said, I just feel like PlayStation, just like their first party especially, it's just like, chef's kiss. Like they just know what they're
Suicide Squad looks great.
the which one?
Suicide Squad looks great.
Well, that's I think they had barely. Oh, that game was dead on arrival as soon as it came out.
So I have
I,
I have a confession to make to you. I've been waiting for. We've been prepping our first podcast here now, for at least 3 weeks now, and we finally got this technology and got microphones and stuff together. And I've had questions going up in my mind, but I have to confess something to you.
okay.
So I, like you, my love started with Nintendo. If I had to pick, I'm probably still a Nintendo fanboy over Sony and Microsoft Xbox. But this is my confession to you. When you and I first started hanging out, I was team Microsoft Xbox 100%.
Yeah.
I didn't own I had a PlayStation 2, but at that point in time it had been like, I don't know, definitely past the end of the life cycle, because PS3 had been out for a couple of years at that time. And you were pushing PlayStation on me. You were pushing it. And I was like, man, no, Xbox is better. Xbox is better. I was a Microsoft fanboy I loved all the first party games. I was a big Halo freak. And you're like, I don't know. It's sort of the same thing you're saying now. It's like I feel Sony's got that edge. And now with actually I've heard the scuttlebutt going around. Are we allowed to say scuttlebutt?
Sure.
Now, like, do people still say that anymore? But I guess Microsoft is saying that they might not even make Xboxes anymore. Was there any truth to that? Or
so they recently just came out with their own podcast. And, they kind of I wouldn't say they fully addressed all of the concerns, but they kind of tiptoed around a lot of the things. So for a while now, there was a lot of speculation that Microsoft and Xbox, they were going to go a la Sega and be full-blown third party. So there was a lot of worry and speculation that they weren't going to make consoles anymore and they were just strictly going to be a publisher. But they kind of just came out with a podcast and kind of like, I don't think they really came out and said too much, but they did admit that 4 games are going to come to Nintendo and PlayStation from their library of games. But
got to be Spider-Man too, right?
No, this is Xbox for Nintendo.
Oh, I'm an idiot. Yeah.
So the speculation is the 4 games are Sea of Thieves, which I think makes sense because that's a games as a service. It's a live service game. So that just
it's on Steam already too. So granted it's Microsoft, but it's just out to another vendor.
Then I think the second one is supposed to be Hi-Fi Rush, which is kind of like a rhythm platformer type of game. Then I want to say it's Pentiment, which is kind of like it was made by Obsidian. The developer was. I'm trying to remember exactly what genre type of game it is. I don't know if you want to try to pull it up and just see what it is. And then for the life of me, I can't think of what the 4th one was supposed to be. Hold on, let me see if I can look that up.
Okay, Obsidian. Here, let me share the screen here. And you know what? There's something that I've got to get used to too. Is not everyone's going to be having access to the video. To the podcast listeners, just audio.
Oh yeah, that's true. So I gotta some. So for those,
but I slipped
those in the audience, this is our first episode. We're gonna have a lot of growing pains. We're gonna work out the kinks. So
I've heard that before.
Yeah. So even with the formatting and just how the flow of the episode is gonna go, like it's gonna feel like it's gonna be all over the place. So that's it right there, Pentiment. And I just looked it up myself, and it says it's an action role-playing video game. So I'm not too familiar with this one. This one kind of like got swept under the rug for me. But let me see what that potential 4th game was supposed to be.
Here, let's watch this. We'll start this launch trailer. Okay, so it's mature. It's a word game. It's a puzzle game.
Okay, this looks familiar now.
So we've got. What type of art style would you say that is? Like I don't want to call it like South Park, but it's sort of like that paper cut.
Oh yeah, it kind of has like that medieval aesthetic, but kind of like with that South Park art style, like you're saying.
The side scroller. Oh, that looks creepy. Like we got some witches burning or a book burning. Oh, it's book burning. Ooh, some romance between like a maiden and a knight behind the bookshelf. Oh, and a nun seeing it on the side.
This would approve. Oh, Grounded was the 4th.
Is this a linear story?
It said role-playing game, so I'd imagine there's branching paths. See, I watched this and like I just didn't get giddy for it, and like I don't know if that's just like just the art style or I don't know. Just this game just doesn't scream out to me like, "Hey, come play this."
Hey, at least it's on Game Pass, though. What's your opinion on Game Pass? Actually, like,
I
I don't
love
know. I mean,
I like Game Pass for the fact that games that I have been on the fence on, like you've known me
like
for
Penitent
years, so
or
like
whatever
just
it's
like
called.
my track record with video games is I fall into this loop of, let's just say a game comes out, I purchase it, I play it for a week, and then a game comes out, and then I purchase it, and then I play it for a week, and then a game comes out, and then so on and so on. So like my back catalog goes all the way back to the PS3, if you could believe it or not. So there's been a few titles that I would like to highlight, just like flagship, like AAA games, like God of War, Kingdom Hearts 3, which is the Kingdom Hearts franchise is just like my favorite franchise in terms of gaming. So like I played that straight through. Um, the Last of Us Part 2, I remember I beat that in a weekend. Like that was just so engrossed into the story. And
Is Kingdom Hearts your favorite series of everything?
oh, 100%.
All right, that was going to be one of my questions. Oh, I'm sorry to backtrack just a second here. My confession to you was that it looks like Microsoft is losing the console war. So
Well,
that was my
they admitted that themselves. So basically, where that stems from is they came out on record and said that they lost the Xbox One and PS4 generation. So by
I admit
doing
defeat.
so, where this all stemmed from was that I want to say it was that E3 press conference. It was Don Matrick who was in charge of Xbox at the time. That was when Xbox and Microsoft were really pushing in that DRM, the digital rights management, to where like you had to have an always online console. You had to authenticate your game every time you go to play it. So like in a way it didn't feel like you truly owned your game. And then right after that, they shoehorned that connect camera thing, and they made it a mandatory add-on. So like they tried to incorporate TV, and like the reason they called it the Xbox One was they wanted this all in one box that could just be like the center and focal point of your living room. But with that being said, a lot of people didn't really care about the camera controls and all that. Like it was kind of gimmicky at the time. Like it didn't really a lot of it was kind of cool and intuitive, but just a lot of the gestures I feel like were kind of hit or miss on depending on what you wanted to do. Which I see where what they were trying to do, and I just feel like the idea itself was ahead of its time. But on top of that, so like when they announced this console, it was $499, and they were just basically saying all the wrong things that were just like being forced upon the consumer.
They
And
weren't highlighting the games; they were just highlighting
exactly,
everything else.
exactly. So
And
then PlayStation's, Sony's press conference came out. They undercut the Xbox One by hundred bucks. So the
oh
launch
yeah,
price point
yeah.
for Xbox was $499, and the PS4 launched at $399. Did not have DRM, and it didn't shoe in that camera. So the PS4 had its own camera, but they made it an optional purchase on the side. Like if you wanted to do it that way, it wasn't forced upon you to where you had to buy it. And
Right.
then just to add insult to injury, so not only is this console $100 cheaper because they're not shoehorning in this camera, the console itself was more powerful than the Xbox. So like many of the Xbox One games were like, for lack of a better way of saying this, most of them were topping out at like 720p, whereas a lot of these games on PS4 were running native 1080p. So just for at the time, not only are you saving $100, you're getting the more powerful console. So
Yeah.
with all of that storm and backlash that Microsoft was getting, a lot of people jumped ship from the 360 era to the PlayStation, side of the fence. And what happened was the PlayStation install base grew so large and people invested so much. And so you got to think, all your friends, they all migrated to PlayStation. They're all playing on PlayStation. And then secondly, anything that you've invested. So like let's just say if you bought digital games, DLCs, whichever, all of that is tied now to your PlayStation account. So in that sense, when the next generation comes out and you already have a whole generation's worth of a catalog, to you as the consumer, what makes the most sense in purchasing your next console? If you're only going to buy one console, you're probably going to buy another PlayStation. And unfortunately, I feel like history is repeating itself. Don't get me wrong, Microsoft, I feel, is doing a lot of great things, but
Mm.
as it stands now, like the PS5 is outselling the Xbox Series consoles 2 to 1, just from the recent numbers that I looked at. And then to go a step further, in those numbers, they don't really break down into the Series X and the Series S. So there's a lot of speculation that the lower tier console, the Series S, is actually, I want to say it's like a 60-40 split, whereas 60% of the series consoles are Series S, and then like 40% are like the flagship, like, the Series X, the beefier, I guess you would say, like the more gamer focused console.
Another
So,
thing I heard was that developers have to actually develop the games for each of those individual consoles as
so
well.
that's another thing, is the Series S is, just in terms of current generation, the lowest common denominator. So don't quote me on this, Chris. I could be wrong on the specs, but I want to say they only have 4 gigs of RAM for their graphics card. So it's not even that power. It's actually, so I think it's ironic that, are you familiar with the Xbox One X? So
Vaguely, I don't
we're going
own
back
any
to
of
last
them,
generation.
and that's part of the thing to me that I do like about PlayStation. Like, as a busy person, PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5
You know what you get.
is so easy, and then you just add the slim version to it. I just know that's a smaller console with more refined hardware in it, and probably even a better Wi-Fi router, or maybe a slightly better processor or something as well in the slim version. But yeah, Xbox, it's so convoluted to me.
Yeah,
But yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
I already forgot what I was going to say, but basically the point I was making was the Xbox One, going back to that generation, they had so it started with the last generation where they kind of had like a mid-gen refresh. So way back when, when did that generation start? 2010. So
Which one? Xbox Series
no,
X,
the one before this one was the PS4 and the Xbox One. Is that the 7th generation?
I believe so.
Okay, so basically, this was the first generation to where when they initially launched these consoles, I want to say it was like 3 to 4 years into the life cycle, they did like a mid-gen refresh. So they came out with the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro. So at the time, technology was starting to come out to where 4K adoption rates were starting to go up through the roof. So as a console, they're not 4K capable, so they wanted to come out, instead of like basically making a whole new generation, they just wanted to do a refresh to where like the current generation were capable of outputting 4K content and like video resolutions. So I just think it's funny, with that being said, that the Xbox One X, which was last generation's console refresh, puts out higher resolutions than the current generation's Xbox Series S.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
So on paper, the new Series S has, um, I want to say it's minor ray tracing capabilities. It has a better CPU, so like it can play, certain games. But then the caveat is, because it's the lowest common denominator and you only have 4 gigabytes of RAM, a lot of the features that they were touting it's not translating to the slowest system. So I know in the PC space, Top, you would know this better than I would. The PC platform is so varied that like you can have low end, high end, and everything in between. So it's very scalable. And when you're making a PC game, whereas it doesn't scale as well on the platform side. So they say like, oh, okay, just scale it back on the console side for the Series S. But then in doing so, you're restricting the developers. You're kind of handcuffing them because of the fact that, like, okay, we have to basically get the game to run on this lowest common denominator console to where the flagship console, which is the Series X, I don't feel like they're fully capable getting the full capabilities of that console. And like they touted all of these different things like high velocity, whatever, just different graphics jargon that they wanted to throw in there. And I just haven't seen any of the fruits of that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%.
So even in the third party space, like for instance, Baldur's Gate 3, when that game launched on the Xbox platform, the Series S was the problem because it could not do local split screen on a modern console.
That's absurd. Yeah.
So that game, when it launched, it didn't even have split screen on that iteration of the game. It was only on the Series X. So that's just right there. It's just the one example as to how this particular, like, I guess what they call it online is a potato.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
But because of the fact that it's so underpowered and underspec that they have to scale everything back on the version that they should have had in the first place. And don't get me wrong, like I own both consoles. I have a Series X and a Series S, and I love a lot. I don't want to just crap all over Microsoft because there's a lot of things I feel they do better than PlayStation.
What are those things?
So, perfect example. I'm glad you asked. They have this thing called Xbox Play Anywhere. So let's just say I'll use Pal World as an example. I'm in my man cave as we speak. I'm playing Pal World. Like I turn the game off, no problem, whatever. If I go into the living room where my Series S is plugged in and I go to log in there, my save that is in my man cave is automatically uploaded through the cloud, and it's so seamless. I don't have to physically do anything. The game just boots up and I'm right where I left off. To me, that is like one of the biggest like quality of life changes that I feel like PlayStation should wholeheartedly adopt, because PlayStation's version of that is you have to manually download from the cloud on a different console if you want that save, if that makes sense. Like you physically have to do it, whereas on Xbox side, so it even translates to PC.
That's pretty innovative. Yeah, that's good.
So Top, even with you, let's just say you're playing Pal World on your PC, and then you jump onto, like, let's just say you get an Xbox console for the living room. You want to plug it in, just have something out there. You play on PC, you jump into your living room, that same exact save file and everything that, that goes along with it just seamlessly transfers over.
That is so cool.
And another thing that I love about Microsoft is dual entitlement. So what that means is
you're just entitled, JB.
Huh?
You're just entitled.
Yeah. So what this means is if I were to buy a game on the Microsoft store or the Xbox store, or like the store on the PC side of it, dual entitlement means you buy the game once. So if I buy the game Pal World on Xbox, I am entitled to the PC version of that game as well at no additional cost. And
that's how it should be. It really should be that way.
So like their viewpoint on it is like, if you bought the game once, why are you buying it again for a different platform? You already bought the game you want. So
you're already supporting the developer, the company, the time they put in.
Mm-hmm. So like that's just a couple examples of like what I think Microsoft is doing better than Sony at the moment.
Okay, cool. You want to switch gears a little bit?
What is your favorite gaming memory that we've had?
That's the exact next one I was looking at. And you know what? Just for fun, I'm gonna put this on the screen just to show off this technology.
Like I said, we're still doing like all the studio things in here, so we got to play around with this a little more. But we just wanted to really get this first episode out here. My favorite gaming memory, hands down, is playing Black Ops 3 Zombies. And just they used to call us Maverick and Goose because we would always run off, do our own thing, get into some shenanigans or whatever. And I'll never forget this. I hear the most classic phrase ever. Hey guys, watch this. You rush into a horde of zombies, and then all of a sudden you just hear, ah, help me. I got a ray gun. I'm down. And this is when we really started playing zombies. We didn't know what it was all about. And, just the sheer laughter we had watching you run into this horde. And you go, I don't know if it was just overconfidence or you just trying to, just be funny or what the deal is, but I'm just sitting there watching, like, oh wow, and then in my head that song popped in. There goes my hero, and I was like, he's really gonna take all these guys out, and then.
I was serious. I was not trolling at all. Like, my plan was to clear a path and save the day. This is probably not the best reference, but what was that old Tom Green movie? It was so stupid. Oh, I'm not even gonna say it on this podcast. It's an old Tom Green movie, but oh god, but he's just like, I saved the day. I saved the day, and like all he did was something stupid. It wasn't this, but it was something equivalent of like just making a ham sandwich. Like, you just did something normal. But yeah, no, that was, yeah, I was pretty upset because I really thought I'd be able to make it happen. So, man, favorite gaming memory for me is really tough. Honestly, I know I was the butt of that one, but that was one of my favorites. Also in Call of Duty, zombies. Really, I just loved zombie mode so much more than even the FPS online. But wasn't it Coco and me? I think I was running up the stairs. I was like, oh, I got a bunch behind me. There's a bunch behind me. They're following me. They're following me. I'm coming up the stairs. And then Coco was like, no. I'm coming down the stairs. And then we got sandwiched right in between them. And obviously we wiped. I don't know. We were pretty far though. I mean, I don't know. What round did we used to get to? Like back in the 40s? Like that was pretty far, I think, for us.
It was crazy too, is like each time we played, we knew it was an investment because of just how much time it was going to take us to like get. So we knew like right off rip, we were going to be in it for at least 2 to 3 hours because I think that's how long it took us to get to like round 40.
Oh, I just discovered this here. Let me share the screen. Completely random thought, but I was curious if there are, records online of the farthest anyone's ever gotten in any of these maps. Which, granted, this is
well, I know when you go into the game, they have these things called barracks. You can see like leaderboards they have in game. So like it tells you all of your stats, like what gun you were most proficient with. Like each map breaks down like how far you've gotten. So what rounds are these? What?
Yeah,
255?
Yeah. I didn't even know they went up to 100. So maybe we've been trash this whole time.
I'm starting to think the same thing. I'm like, wow, level round 40. Like
I mean, granted, check out this jump, and this is just on Shinonuma, just on one particular one. But yeah, 255, 202. Then it jumps down to 148. But like, I don't know, we got
pretty varied.
I don't know. Check this out. Like, look, that's round 40.
Well, you got to think when we played, it was on the PS3. No, so does that carry over? Because
I doubt it. I doubt it, and I wonder if the difficulty is different at all.
Yeah, because I want to say now the one we play is the PS4 version of the game technically. So I don't know if a lot of the leaderboards from the PS3 version carry over.
Yeah, and just for the audio listeners, but yeah, we've got a top.
So what we probably also is a lot of the zombies we played on PS3 were at World at War and the first Black Ops.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, for the audio listeners, there's a 255, but it goes 202, 148, 120, 100, and then it goes all the way down to 40 at level, rank 18, and then 19 is.
I don't know how accurate it is. I don't. Is this for? Does it say what game this is for?
Yeah. It's just here, Black Ops 3. It's just Black Ops.
So it's Black Ops 3. So ours was probably from World at War when we were really playing.
Yeah, here, let's World at War zombies record. I don't know. I never even thought about this. World at War leaderboards. Okay, yeah, here we go. This here.
What?
Oh my goodness. Okay, audio listeners. So, World at War. Can you pronounce that German for me?
Krupp or Nach der Untoten.
Yeah. So that first level on there, rank 1. Can we get a guess? Like in the comments below. I don't know. I guess if you're on YouTube, you can already see it. But let me know what your guess was for the highest round.
So in my head, I was
audio listeners. Yeah. Go ahead, JB.
In my head, it was only triple digits for the highest round, but this is going on to high 4 digits. All right, so for those listening, 8,817 or 8,817.
Yeah, and then 8,276. Then it jumps down to about 3,000, 2,000, 1,800, and then we're getting into the hundreds, like 400s and 200s. Oh man, it's got round 11 on here from Steam. Like, why is that even on here? Like,
that's funny.
I don't know. Like, I don't know. This looks a little.
I also wonder too how recent these are.
Yeah. Here, let me see. Just for grins, let me click on number 2 here. It does not give a date, I believe. Does it have a YouTube link?
Twitch link too.
Oh wow. Well, okay, the YouTube link does pull it up. And it says 8 months ago. This was up. It was uploaded 8 months ago.
Okay.
But yeah, and that's a 8,269 round. So I don't know. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I would have said triple digits. I'm with you, JB. But yeah. So that's like my favorite gaming memory with you guys. I find it very unique that we I feel like we've already made some memories in Helldivers too.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know. I want to keep that going. But
just throwing random orbital strikes or like napalm or mine clusters or whatever the case is, and you call it out, and you're like, "Oh, I'm safe. I'm fine. No problem." And then you're getting blown across the halfway across the map, or the random friendly fire where like you don't know where you are adjacent to your teammates, and then you're just walking straight, and then you're getting caught in a line of fire, and then you're dead for no reason. You're like, what? Yeah. What killed me? And you're like, oh.
This is. I need to get used to calling you Sly.
Same Z. I feel like I've said, your name a couple times.
I don't know if you have, but I think you've called me top. This is one of my favorite gaming memories. I wonder if you'll feel the same. I have different memories with everyone.
Pocky and Rocky.
Yeah, Pocky and Rocky. The first time I beat the co-op was with you.
So
I'm pretty sure the first
many
time.
late nights with that game. Just like, and that's what I've loved about vintage. Is it fair to say vintage games now or retro?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
would be the perfect
Retro is.
So
I think
retro
that.
games, they have a difficulty that you just don't find in modern games anymore. Like, granted, you have like the Souls-like games and things of that nature, but like just in terms of sheer like arcade style type of like gaming, this like there you get 3 lives the whole game, and you have to stretch that out, and then just so even most recently they made a remaster for the PS4 and the Switch, I believe, and even playing by myself on the Switch, owned, it is that difficult. So I mean, granted, I don't know if it's me, but I'm not the most patient gamer, I guess you could say. So like, I'm not gonna sit there and just wait for figure out what the patterns are and all that. Like, I just want to go run through it and do all that. But then certain games, you got to realize you can't really do that. You have to like take your time, assess what the situation is. This game is pure, like just oh my goodness, like so many memories.
Yeah, the music, the gameplay. Granted, this is that Switch version that you were talking about.
Hmm.
But yeah, just straight up fun, like
Yeah.
some good couch co-op. Um, Other random gaming memories that I've had, playing the Final Fantasy series with my cousins. Um, there's a boss that you're fighting in one of the Final Fantasies, and we could barely read. We were all like 5 or 6 or so. I think I was the oldest, maybe 5. And in order to beat this specific dungeon boss, it tells you to take off your armor and your weapons, like in the text, but none of us could really read that well yet, or at least as quick as the thing went. So we had all our full armor, full weapons, and you keep damaging the boss for 1 damage at a time. So we fought this boss for hours and hours, just ticking away at it. And it was just like 1 damage, or maybe it was even 0 damage. And then we eventually had to get my aunt, who actually she's like 1 lifed the original Zelda, but that's a side point. But she had to come in there and help us with the boss. We started it over, and she read it to us, and then we beat it in like less than 10 minutes. But that was a fun gaming memory. Playing games with my daughter, Minecraft, the countless hours in there, even Roblox. Like that game can get a bad rap. I know it's on consoles now, but even playing, with my other brother-in-law, your brother, we'll just call him TT.
Yep.
Let's call him TT. And there's some fun story modes in there, and honestly, playing like the Final Fantasy series with wifey, that's been really good too. And I don't know, we could go into that even further. So
Yeah. But I say, I feel like we got a lot of good stuff in here. Maybe might want to like save some of this for future episodes and whatnot. But my name is Sly. This is Tom.
And I'm Top.
We want to thank you for joining us on the Keep It Up and Game On podcast, and we will see you next time.